Insight-Nexus-News report, date November 15th, 2024. Hello, I'm Paul with Insight-Nexus-News. Today's report explores an intriguing and perhaps surprising subject: the use of acting techniques by politicians and public figures to subtly influence, persuade, and even manipulate audiences. We'll take a deep dive into how politicians have increasingly relied on training in body language, vocal modulation, and unconscious facial expressions to send cues that shape public opinion and trust, often without the audience's awareness. By the end, you'll have a clearer understanding of the methods used, the psychology behind them, and the ethical implications for democratic societies. The art of persuasion, acting techniques in politics. As the lines between entertainment and politics blur, more politicians are recognizing the value of acting techniques to connect with the public. Training in acting and body language helps leaders appear more trustworthy, credible, and empathetic, qualities essential for gaining public support. Political strategists have increasingly encouraged candidates to undergo coaching in areas like body language, learning to project openness, confidence, and honesty through posture, gestures, and eye contact. Facial expressions, understanding micro-expressions, subtle cues that convey emotions like empathy, sincerity, and conviction. Vocal modulation, adjusting tone, pitch, and pace to evoke emotional responses, build suspense, or convey authority. Acting classes for politicians aren't a new phenomenon. Historical records suggest that Winston Churchill, Ronald Reagan, and John F. Kennedy each had mentors or coaches who helped them refine their public personas. This trend has accelerated with the growth of media influence in politics, making it more essential than ever for public figures to be skilled in the art of nonverbal persuasion. The role of body language in persuasion. Body language is one of the most powerful tools in shaping perception. Studies show that people place a high level of trust in nonverbal cues, often over verbal messages. Psychologists such as Dr. Albert Mehrabian have explored how over 90% of communication is nonverbal, indicating how gestures, posture, and facial expressions profoundly impact how messages are received. When politicians receive body language coaching, they learn to project calm, openness, or assertiveness on cue. This is achieved through specific techniques such as open palm gestures, demonstrating transparency and honesty by keeping hands visible and open. Controlled eye contact, knowing when to maintain or break eye contact to create rapport without overwhelming. Mirroring movements, subtly mimicking an audience's gestures or expressions, which creates subconscious rapport and a sense of shared understanding. These tactics, drawn from acting techniques, are particularly effective because they bypass conscious scrutiny and directly engage the brain's emotional centers, influencing people's perceptions on a deeper, often unconscious level. Vocal training and tone of voice. In addition to body language, vocal modulation plays a crucial role in influencing audience perception. In acting and public speaking, coaches emphasize the importance of a varied and expressive tone of voice, a technique that helps convey emotions more vividly and can stir emotional reactions in listeners. When politicians alter their tone, they can appeal to an audience's empathy, fear, or enthusiasm without explicitly stating these emotions. Political candidates often receive training to emphasize key words, drawing out certain words to underscore significance or create emphasis. Use pauses effectively, inserting pauses for suspense or to let a critical point resonate. Match tone to message, employing a calm, lower pitch to discuss serious matters and a warmer, higher pitch when connecting on personal issues. Studies on vocal tonality reveal that people are more likely to perceive someone as authoritative or trustworthy based on their vocal qualities rather than the content of their speech. This makes voice modulation a potent tool for politicians to sway opinion. Facial expressions and micro-expressions. Facial expressions can communicate a wealth of emotions within milliseconds. Through micro-expressions, brief, involuntary facial expressions that reflect genuine emotions, politicians can project authenticity. Acting classes often teach individuals to control these expressions to mask or create emotions. Some of the subtle yet impactful facial techniques politicians are trained in include mastering the smile. Smiling warmly and naturally, rather than mechanically, can help create an aura of approachability. Controlled brow movements. Raising brows slightly can signal openness and attentiveness, while a slight furrow can convey concern or focus. Relaxing the face. Tension in the face can signal stress or anger, so actors and by extension politicians are trained to relax their facial muscles, projecting calm and confidence. Using micro-expressions to convey emotions like compassion or determination creates a psychological effect where audiences often perceive the person as genuine, even if the emotions aren't spontaneous. The psychology behind acting techniques in politics. At the core of these acting methods lies a psychological understanding of how humans respond to specific cues. Psychologists argue that people's decisions are heavily influenced by their emotions rather than logic. Techniques from acting classes allow politicians to tap into this emotional decision-making process. This is why political campaigns invest in image consultants, body language coaches, and media strategists to create an image that emotionally resonates with their base. Behavioral economist Dan Ariely has documented how subtle cues can alter perceptions, leading people to make decisions based on subconscious emotions rather than conscious, logical thought. By using acting techniques, politicians capitalize on this cognitive bias, influencing people to feel a certain way and therefore think a certain way. Ethical implications. Manipulation versus genuine communication. While body language and voice modulation are integral to effective communication, the question arises, at what point does this become manipulation? Critics argue that coaching politicians in these techniques can lead to manipulation, where voters are influenced by personality rather than policy. Advocates contend that these skills are simply tools, no different from preparing a well-crafted speech. However, the blurred line between persuasion and manipulation is concerning, particularly in a democratic society. When political figures are trained to trigger unconscious emotional responses, it raises ethical questions about transparency and the role of truth in politics. Examples and case studies. Ronald Reagan, known as the Great Communicator. Reagan's background in acting was instrumental to his presidential appeal. He was known for using pauses and expressions effectively to convey sincerity and strength. Number 2. Bill Clinton. Often credited with being a natural politician, Clinton had a strong ability to make people feel he was deeply interested in them. His gestures, eye contact, and tonal modulation during speeches were reportedly enhanced by media coaching. Barack Obama. Known for his powerful oratory, Obama's speeches were marked by rhythmic pacing and deliberate pauses. Observers noted that his use of tone and measured movements created an image of calmness and control, influencing how people perceived his leadership. Number 4. Margaret Thatcher. As Prime Minister, Thatcher took voice lessons to sound more authoritative. Her advisors knew that a lower, steadier tone would make her appear more commanding, especially in a male-dominated political arena. How these techniques affect public trust. Public figures' reliance on acting techniques has prompted growing scrutiny from media analysts and voters alike. When audiences learn that their favorite leaders might be performing in a calculated manner, it can erode trust, making them question the sincerity of these figures. A survey by Pew Research shows that over 60% of people feel politicians are more focused on image than genuine communication. This perception risks deepening cynicism, where people feel manipulated rather than represented. Thank you for tuning in to Insight-Nexus-News. Today, we've unpacked the fascinating and sometimes controversial topic of how acting techniques are used in politics to subtly shape and influence public opinion. The intersection of psychology, acting, and politics highlights the importance of being a discerning listener. How do you feel about politicians using these tactics? Do you think they cross a line, or are they a necessary part of effective communication? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more in-depth reports.